Oh, well, good. I appreciate that. There were lots of numbers. He's obviously had too much coffee. Tossed around during the presidential debate. John Berman's got a little list for us of what was true, what was not quite true, and what was just out and out false.
Let's look at one of the big ones that came up right at the beginning of the debate, the issue of tax cuts. We knew this was going to be a big issue, and it dominated the beginning of the debate. President Obama went on the attack, saying Mitt Romney is pitching a huge tax cut for the rich.
Governor Romney's Central Economic Plan calls for a $5 trillion tax cut on top of the extension of the Bush tax cuts. That's another $1 trillion, and $2 trillion in additional military spending that the military hasn't asked for.
Now let's look at the facts here. Mitt Romney does propose an across-the-board 20% tax cut. And the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center says that under that plan, taxes on the wealthiest Americans would be reduced by $5 trillion initially. But Mitt Romney says he would offset these cuts with by closing some loopholes and reducing deductions, and this would reduce the tax cut on the wealthy here. So if Mitt Romney follows through with that, our verdict here is that the president's claim that Mitt Romney would cut the wealthy's taxes by $5 trillion is false. But stay tuned, because there's more to this story when we deal with the deficit here, because Mitt Romney was asked time and time again how he would pay for his tax cut. Let's listen.
My number one principle is there'll be no tax cut that adds to the deficit. I won't put in place a tax cut that adds to the deficit. That's part one. So there's no economist can say Mitt Romney's tax plan adds $5 trillion if I say I will not add to the deficit with my tax plan. My plan is not to put in place any tax cut that will add to the deficit.
Problem is, all we have here is his word, because Mitt Romney really has not laid out any specifics for how he would pay for his tax cut. All he says is closing loopholes and reducing deductions, but he hasn't said which one or how many. So the verdict here is simply incomplete. We just can't know what will happen there. Finally, there was one subject we thought may have been a missed opportunity for Barack Obama. Medicare, a big topic of discussion for some time. Mitt Romney made the claim, like he has repeatedly, that President Obama is looking to make cuts that affect people in the program today.
What I support is no change for current retirees and near retirees to Medicare, and the president supports taking $716 billion out of that program.
And Mitt Romney also said flat out that President Obama wants to cut $716 billion from Medicare. This one's been checked and checked again. What President Obama has proposed are not cuts to Medicare. Medicare will still grow. It will just grow more slowly, a reduction in growth of $716 billion. But also, that money is coming from insurers and providers, not beneficiaries here. So the verdict here, with the language Mitt Romney uses, is simply that statement is false.
You know what's interesting? You didn't really hear that in the debate, right? Normally, or in past debates, someone will stand up and say, that's just not true. Or even the moderator will step in and call out and reframe a question.
Right.
And some of that was the format, but also there was just a lackluster energy or lack of energy in the debate.
The president didn't want to take anything to Mitt Romney. He let him stay on offense the entire night. It was almost like the president went in. You know, you watch a team get up in football, and then they go into the prevent defense. And I've always said that's a terrible thing, because it doesn't prevent anything.
Right.
You know,
and the team ends up losing, and that's what happened last night.
I agree with you, Soledad. I think there were moments where there was an attempt at challenge, but they didn't seem heartfelt. They didn't seem like the president, for that matter, was all in on the challenge. John, I think your fact check is very fair, specifically on Mitt Romney's tax claims. It's not misleading. The Tax Policy Center analysis that many point to simply is old. They made many assumptions, and since then they've revisited many of those assumptions and said our analysis is incomplete. So President Obama
But some of the reason it's incomplete, right, is because the Mitt Romney's
we don't know Mitt Romney's assumptions.
Well,
and,
and because the plan is sort of like, and things are going to grow, and if you have more people come in paying taxes, it grows.
And that's why John's fact check is very fair. We don't know Mitt Romney's assumptions. He has left that incomplete. But the president, I don't know why. I don't know if you know why, Roland, didn't ask for him last night.
Right.
Never asked.
Exactly.
And also, I think when you look at in terms of some of the other issues, Mitt Romney stands there and talks about Dodd-Frank and banks being too big to fail. I was waiting for the president to say, Mitt Romney, do you support reinstating Glass-Steagall? I do. Your vice presidential pick does. And so will that make the bank smaller? And again, in a debate, you have to, you can't depend on Jim Layer to do the actual job. And again, I understand being the president and above the fray, but as we say, when you're in a fight, baby, if you're going to swing, swing.
Is that what we say in a fight?
Right. when it's time to fight, you got to swing.
The president didn't have his gloves on last night. I mean, it was almost like he didn't know the facts and he didn't know to make the Glass-Steagall argument.
Actually, look, he does know the facts, but again, it's a question of whether or not you want to engage in that way. He has to, and I think this morning he realizes
we have 90 more minutes to talk about all of this. Still ahead this morning.